What you are listening to is real. The participants are not actors. They are actual litigants with a case pending in the squared circle. Both parties have agreed to dismiss their cases and have their disputes settled here in our forum, the Turnbuckle Debate.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Turnbuckle Debate. My name is Sneed.
I'm Chad.
And our guest joining us, returning guest, multi-time guest, friend of the Tavern, RAWDOWN host. Man, there's so many. I mean, you
open mic host, Chick Foley
so
Zone,
much.
Marco, MVP Marco. What's going on, Marco?
Nothing much. Yeah, I'm like a kind of like a Tavern member a little bit. I'm like in between, like with the NWO Hollywood and NWO Wolfpack. I kind of like jump between different factions there. But I was thinking earlier. I was like this is kind of like a drop off. You had Sam Roberts, right? Then following that Hawk, and then me. So it's all downhill from here.
Coming after Hawk, this is a fucking major step up.
Oh, we love Hawk.
Yeah, love Hawk he's the whipping boy.
There's peaks and valleys. We're coming out of a valley.
Chick Foley, you guys are crushing it. All part of the Pod Foundation. Anyone who wants to support the Pod Foundation, Extra Cooler, Chick Foley, us coming down the aisle at Pod Foundation. But since then, I mean, obviously you do the RAWDOWN on the Tavern with Anthony and JBONE, but since we last had you on, Chick Foley's kind of started to spread its tentacles out into some satellite shows. Tell us a little bit about your show, Open Mic.
Yeah, so you guys kind of spread the virus around the Pod Foundation, and we kind of want to do our little like side projects there. But I had this idea for like a while. I wasn't sure how to do it. Like the early inceptions of it for Open Mic was basically like I was going to interview people within our Facebook group, like our Facebook group members and stuff like that, just to like spotlight them a little bit because we love pretty much everyone in our Facebook group. They're the nicest people on earth, like no drama, nothing like that. So, but some of them are really interesting. Like we have former wrestlers in there. We just have a ton of people. Like so, like I was going to start interviewing them, then that idea just went away. And then, more recently, earlier this year, actually, I was like, you know what? I was like, I might as well just do it. Let me just, hop on. It is scary. I'm doing the show like solo. So it's me by myself, but with a guest. So it's not like I have someone to banter with to help me out with that. So that was my first fear, was jumping on by myself. And then the second part of that was like, getting, Sheena's approval, essentially. Not really approval, but like, hey, this is what I want to do. I want to kind of put your name on the show, because it is Chick Foley Show presents Open Mic. So I kind of wanted to like use her name a little bit, and coming with that, it's like I don't want to like not only disappoint her, but put out something that's like someone says something awful and
right
your name, stuff like that. So that was the other fear. But when she said it was okay, I said fine. I mean, I went ahead and did it, and obviously she was like technically my first guest for the first episode. My wife did the pilot episode.
The pilot was good though. The pilot was good.
They got a little bit of good feedback. Everyone pretty much enjoyed it and stuff like that. And so I was like, maybe this will work. So, having Sheena on the first episode, I think was like kind of like a full circle moment where, she kind of brought me into this thing. Essentially, like, she brought me onto her show, and I was a guest on her show, and then became like an actual co-host on the show. And then from there, just interviewing her, and, the idea behind the Open Mic show is just to get like a little bit more, in depth of what, that person, their character, what makes them do what they do, why they came up with, their, whatever they got going on, as whether it's cosplay, art, podcasting, a wrestling page, whatever it is, just to like learn more about them and what makes them tick, and, get a little bit more feedback in that sense. And, I think it's been working so far. I mean, people have been pretty much enjoying it. I've had, I'm on episode 5 right now. And I think, it's just a little break from what we push out to as a wrestling, kind of centric group. So like, you guys pretty much cover every gamut that known to man. But then with us, it's like, we have, Seth and Jordan do the Pod Warriors, where they pretty much do everything. They're not pigeonholed to like wrestling. They'll do like video games. They'll talk about like travels and stuff like that, because they've been longtime friends. So that, that's easy for them. Sheena kind of got into a little bit. She's going to start doing like these, like, quick shows where she like reviews like figures and stuff like that. Kind of like expanding on what we do on the show. And then that's another thing that I did, was like basically take a segment that we used to do, which is basically kind of like, it was called Keeping It Tranquilo. Like yeah. So like, talk about what we, watch besides wrestling. Like it could be a podcast, could be music, movies, whatever. That was kind of like the beginning inception of it. So taking that, idea and bringing it to like a full on show. And I think, like I said, I think it's like a nice break from what, what we listen to. You still have your personalities, that and love, essentially. And maybe some you don't. But the main thing is it's wrestling that brought me to that person. Yep. I'm just trying to figure out who they are, and that's an idea behind open mic. Is if you're familiar with comedy, open mic night is it's scary. You walk up there and you stand in front of strangers and you're trying to make them laugh, essentially. So that's pretty much what it is. Like, I don't know a lot of the people that I'm bringing on. I just reach out and I say, hey, you want to come on and do an interview? Like I said, I just interviewed Casey from Over the Moonsault. I don't know her personally. I've interacted with her like a couple of times, and then if you listen to the show, you'd think we were just like longtime friends. So
well, the thing I've loved about the show so far, and I imagine it's kind of going to become a running thing with open mic, is I like that you're talking to people kind of that we've all been connected through the wrestling world, but you're digging into like them, not just like, how are you a wrestling fan? We're getting to know them, what they're all about, what makes them tick outside of just pro wrestling. That's what's super interesting. Yeah, that's what the idea behind it was. I kind of like said it was like an inception of like if Joe Rogan and Renee Paquette had a child. That's what I was kind of like going for in that sense. Not go as long form as Joe Rogan does. If you listen to his podcast, it go like 3+ hours. I'm not trying to do that. But I try to get that like type of conversation within that hour or hour and 20-minute time limit that I put on it. So like, try to make it as personable as I can. Because I can talk to somebody forever. Like as soon as like that episode I did with Lumber Joville or Mayor Aaron, like I could have literally talked to him for like an hour, another hour. So like we could have went for 2 hours, but I had to cut it short. If you listen to that, we kind of like I almost made it go a little bit longer, but I was like, no, we got to cut this off because I can talk forever. But yeah, that's the idea behind it, just to give like a a nice, chill, laid back, different vibe for wrestling fans and stuff like that, and every type of fan, collectors. Cosplayers, whatever you do, whatever you consider like a nerdy behavior, you can definitely listen to this. Listen to my show and and learn about those people that you follow. It's definitely working, man. If anyone wants, you drop. Is there a specific day? I know you guys drop it on the Chick Foley feed on Apple and Spotify, or do you just kind of drop it when necessary?
We drop it when necessary. Like this like an off week, so we're not doing the Chick Foley show. So either like myself or Seth and Jordan will drop the Pod Warriors or even
That's
both
awesome.
during that week. So like, it's not. I don't have like a certain night. It's basically whoever they're doing the show. It's on their time. So if it's like I like to record during the week, but sometimes it's during the weekend where some people can only record. So
right.
I pretty much go by what they do, but yeah, there's no specific time. I try to, put it out there when it is going to drop. Obviously I have a ton of avenues to do it. I have the RAWDOWN, I have Chick Foley Show. So I'm able to spread the word, and whoever's on the show is going to spread the word as well, hopefully. So
yeah, guys, go. What that means is go sub and follow Chick Foley.
Of course, yeah.
It'll pop up on your feed.
Yeah, and hopefully I want to get you guys on, definitely. At some point, definitely get you too. I know JBONE coming down the aisle. If you guys don't know, definitely he wants to jump on because obviously we talked.
Man, I'm there.
Yeah, no, definitely. I definitely want to like get like more of your story and how you guys got together and stuff. I think it'll be definitely interesting. So
it'll be fun.
Be a good time.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we came to debate some topics.
I think
Let's do it.
Time to get into it.
Yeah, let's jump in.
Let's go. All right. first topic of the evening. Does WWE need the amount of pay-per-views that it currently has? Now, this is coming off the news that they just canceled day one, and then they have a lot of events. So do they need the amount of pay-per-views that they have?
I'll jump in on it. I think they do. I don't have a problem with this. Isn't AEW. I like AEW doing 4 pay-per-views a year. I think it's a good model for them. There's an argument out there that maybe AEW could do a little bit more, but I think them doing the special dynamites and having the other things is enough for them. And until they can make Battle of the Belts actually must see, I don't want more pay-per-views from, you're paying $50 to watch a pay-per-view in AEW. So I think asking any more than 4 right now in the climate it is now with streaming, I think would be a misstep. But for WWE, you got Peacock, you pay, they do these big events. I think their business model is kind of set up for these premium live events that they're calling them now. But I don't have a problem with the amount of pay-per-views they have, because I do think they've kind of tailored it back a little bit. It used to be like 14, 15 a year, it seems like. And I feel like it's about 1 a month now. At least it feels like that, barring Crown Jewel and all that. But I think the problem I have is the pay-per-views or the PLEs. I'm just going to say pay-per-view. I think the problem I have is the gimmick pay-per-views. I don't have a problem with them having all of these pay-per-views. I just don't like them having Hell in a Cell, Extreme Rules. I would rather have Hell in a Cell pop up when it's necessary to the story being told. Like, I hate that when you have a pay-per-view called Hell in a Cell, it's almost like you have to tailor the story. We know we're getting a Hell in a Cell match. There's no drama behind it. Where if you took that pay-per-view off the board and then all of a sudden the story kind of dictated this huge blow-off match in a Hell in a Cell, I feel like the fans would lose their minds if we only got one Hell in a Cell every couple years. It would make it mean more. And I hate, Extreme Rules where they feel the need that they have to gimmick up every match or most of the matches. Just let the story dictate the gimmicks and stuff. But as far as like the number of pay-per-views, maybe they could cut it back to like 9 or 10 or 8 to 10 a year, but I don't really have a problem with the amount they have.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go and say I don't have a problem with the amount they have, but I do think they should cut back. Definitely. Just like you said, with the, Extreme Rules is definitely one. If you listen to Chick Foley Show, we definitely want, Hell in a Cell just to become a marquee match as opposed to a pay-per-view. Same thing with Elimination Chamber. They can get rid of that and make that you don't need an Elimination Chamber pay-per-view.
For that matter, Money in the Bank.
Yeah, Money in the Bank. I mean, yeah, Money in the Bank as well. I mean, that's another one that doesn't really, judging from the last few years with the Money in the Bank, like the cash-ins and stuff like that, there's really nothing around it. Like if they were to actually make it a storyline, kind of like you said, and have that match lead up into one of the events, like a Royal Rumble or WrestleMania or something like that, like they did before, it would be way more special, I think. So I think they should just do like what AEW's doing, just kind of like do more themed type of shows as opposed to like make a special Raw or a special SmackDown, or even their live events that they do where they travel, maybe even put those on Peacock as opposed to, making it like a premium live event. So like here's a special event for this Saturday night, and you do like one of those live shows that they do, because they do those like super shows sometimes where they have both Raw and SmackDown people on, so they could do something like that. But yeah, I think I kind of miss the days where it was the pay-per-views meant something. For WWE. Obviously, like you kind of alluded to, the business model is a lot different now. There's they really bank on having that that streaming business now. They have to provide Peacock with those types of shows. So I don't think pay-per-views are going anywhere essentially, but I think I would like them to definitely cut back on those like gimmicky ones, if anything. Like, it doesn't serve any purpose as a show itself, because you're gonna sit there and watch a Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, and every single match is a Hell in a Cell, or maybe two.
Right.
Like, you already killed it. You killed the gimmick already. Like, that should be like a blow-off type of feud, kind of like they did with Edge and Seth Rollins at the Crown Jewel.
Yeah.
That blow-off match, that last match that they had.
It felt right. Yeah.
It felt huge. It felt like it was like, it's Crown Jewel and we're having a Hell in a Cell match. It should be the same with every other pay-per-view. It's SummerSlam. There's going to be a Hell in a Cell match at SummerSlam.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Even with Survivor Series right now, Survivor Series War Games, like, don't title it that, just Survivor Series, but you know what? We're going to add War Games to it. Now there's going to be a War Games match. Don't put it on the title. Like, make it like, now you're making it a gimmick. Now we're expecting every year for there to be a war game. And maybe there might be a War Games pay-per-view where every single match is going to be a War Games match, and then they're going to kill it. But hopefully that doesn't happen.
I feel like they want to brand everything. Like, everything wants to be branded. Like, dude, just let a match be a match, and keep your big brands, your Survivor Series, your Rumble, your SummerSlam, your Manias, obviously, but then kind of inject them. Like, Money in the Bank started as a Mania match, right? Like, isn't that how it all kicked off? Like, I miss those days. Instead of, okay, it's May, it's June, we're ready for Money in the Bank. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, like even Elimination Chamber was a Survivor Series match,
right? Yeah.
So it wasn't. They didn't call it back then Survivor Series / Elimination Chamber or anything like that. It was just, there's just going to be this match with this big, crazy dome. That we're introducing for the first time ever during this pay-per-view. It wasn't like they, back then did an Elimination Chamber centric pay-per-view. That would have kind of killed it. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's like I said, I think they could benefit from less pay-per-views, but that's not going to be their business model. And who knows what the news floating around now with like this, the selling of the company that might go into it with like all the brand, like you said, branding and all these like different properties and stuff like that. That makes the name WWE more valuable if you have all these like namesakes under it. Well, like this shiny thing, like, oh, look at this. You're not only buying WWE, but you're buying you're buying Royal Rumble. WrestleMania must be like, that has to have like the biggest amount of stock for that company. Just the name alone, like, if you're not a wrestling fan, you definitely know what WrestleMania is, or even Royal Rumble. Most people know what a Royal Rumble is, or a Battle Royal or something. But I think it's more of like you said, just more properties, and like you said, just gearing up for an eventual sale, maybe. Yeah, who knows?
Yeah, I get it from the business model. I completely understand the branding, getting themselves out there. You're building your brand. You're making people, if people are interested in buying the company, why would you not want a WrestleMania? It's the Coca-Cola, that's what it is. But I kind of more looked at this from a fan perspective. Yeah. And I definitely think they do not need that many pay-per-views. I missed the days so much where SummerSlam rolled around, and then, man, what's going to happen at Survivor Series? Like, it's those tentpole events that you look forward to. And then when the matches, like, I mean, we had a TLC match, and then they turned TLC into an entire pay-per-view. And then from there it went to Extreme Rules. Mm-hmm. And it's just, I feel like it just muddies it up. And for me, I think pay-per-views are for story blow-offs and for stories to end. And if a story is ending every month, like, I'm a big fan of long-term story. I'm a big fan of letting a story play out. Mm-hmm. I don't think you can do that with that many pay-per-views. If things are ending and always beginning, I miss those days of having a lot of time between those pay-per-views.
Here's my pushback on that, though. The whole, I always want to say network, but it's Peacock now. That model, I feel like, has taken away the importance of the big four build, where you're building up to this big event because you're paying for it. You're going to shell out your money, buy the pay-per-view. Now, I feel like where you're paying your $10 a month or whatever it is now with Peacock to get, and you get all of these events, they don't feel as special to me. And I do think they do a pretty good job telling long-term stories, even through some of these smaller PLEs. You know, like Roman's in a big long-term story, but he's hitting all of these little shows, and then there'll be the big tent pole, hitting all these little shows, defending these little matches, but there's this overarching bigger story. I feel like they're handling that recently pretty good. Now, if it was just 4 weeks, blow off, move on to the next thing, then I'm like, yeah, you're right. These events are kind of killing the long term. But there's something about it being on Peacock to me that takes away the specialness of Money in the Bank, Extreme Rules. Honestly, I don't get ramped up for those. There's only really 3 shows that they have that I get ramped up for: the Rumble, SummerSlam, and Mania. Survivor Series used to be one of those, but it's kind of fell off for me.
Yeah.
Like the big 3, Mania, Rumble, SummerSlam, where it feels like a, hey, get the buddies over, let's order some wings, some pizza, sit around and watch it. I don't get those feelings with Hell in a Cell. They just feel like kind of a little bit elevated Raw. It's like a little bit more than elevated Raw. So that's why I think, like, with the model they're at, as a fan, I just feel like even as a fan, I'm like, it doesn't take anything away from me, because the big shows do kind of still feel important to me, and those little shows just feel like almost like Dynamite doing a St. Patrick's Day Slam or Grand Slam or one of those events. That's what a Hell in a Cell feels like to me. Just kind of a little bit elevated Raw.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think like what you said, like, imagine, you have a 3-hour Raw, right? And you talk about ratings and stuff. How crazy would it be if you tuned in one night and they had a Hell in a Cell match?
It'd be crazy.
Or Elimination Chamber match on SmackDown one night.
Didn't they do that in the last year?
I think, they did a Hell in a Cell match.
Yeah, Bobby Lashley.
Yeah. So like that's that. Talk about ratings and all that stuff. Like that'll draw ratings like crazy. Like if you do like obviously Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar right now are feuding. Imagine like instead of Crown Jewel, you get a special Raw where it's Hell in a Cell, or maybe the final match between them. Maybe it's a trilogy. The final match between them.
Money in the Bank,
something like that. Tonight on Raw, Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar and their blood feud in a Hell in a Cell match. Like, you want to talk about ratings? Like, I'm watching that.
Yeah,
you're pulling in casuals and everything. I mean, obviously football's on right now, but even Brock Lesnar might be able to pull some people from depending on what the game is. That's the other thing too. Like if it's a Monday Night Football game, you might get some people, but I think they could benefit from, like I said, kind of like AEW's model where they do like a themed show like every once in a while. Like they used to do like the old school night or whatever, or
Metro Raw, or
like something like that. Do even like a retro like Monday Nitro night or something like that. That'd be pretty cool.
Great.
Like have the ring apron like Nitro, or I don't know, something crazy where I would, instead of making that a pay-per-view, like what if they do like a Nitro pay-per-view, or
dude, and with the beauty of them is they own so much property, like
All Brawl they could do,
like Spring Stampede.
Now, didn't they do Great American Bash like that?
Yeah, they do that for NXT. So like again, they use NXT to like have those themed
Halloween Havoc.
Halloween Havoc. I think it's tonight. So like they do that Halloween Havoc, and they do that for, you have so many properties of WCW. Do like a Monday Night Raw, like a Fall Brawl edition of Monday Night Raw. Do like you said, like a Spring Stampede of
World War III. Bring 3 rings out. Let's do it.
Do a World War III. Raw. Like you could fit that in a Raw because it's 3 hours. Like a lot of these properties could be geared towards Raw. I mean, if you think about it. But,
that's why I say like the smaller pay-per-views for them, or PLEs, like they don't feel much more special than a Raw.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why I'm just kind of like, I don't think Now, if you were having to order $50 pay-per-views,
Yeah.
12 nights a year, then I'm like, okay, there's way too many. But right now it's like, it's literally like I'm bored. I'm home on a Sunday. Oh shit, Hell in a Cell's on. I'll watch it. You know, it's not like destination for me. So I don't feel like it hurts the product that much.
All right. Anybody have anything final to add to this before we move on?
No.
No, the Triple H. I mean, you have day one being canceled. I'm expecting probably a couple more. I think a couple more of those are going to be gone.
Yeah, I heard when they announced that, I heard another little blurb come out with it where it's like they're rethinking their pay-per-view structure for 2023 as far as like what goes where. And so I'm going to be interested to see how what Triple H's vision of a pay-per-view calendar year is.
I mean, Shawn Michaels came out and said they're pretty much doing what Vince McMahon did in the 90s. That's it. That's kind of like what their business model is. So whatever that means, I have no clue. But if they go back to those, like, you know, it maybe like an in your house type of thing, like that type of thing, maybe just the main pay-per-views like your, you know, Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, Survivor Series, SummerSlam, but then have that like maybe one in the middle, like that one special pay-per-view or something like that.
That'd be fun.
And hopefully they get rid of, I mean, hopefully they don't redo their deal with you know who and do the crown jewel. So hopefully that goes away. I hope this is the last one. I'm hoping anyway.
I really don't like that picture of Triple H right there.
No, he looks like he looks like a creep.
Mug.
And Stephanie too.
Yeah.
Nick Khan just looks like he was at a business meeting. Yeah.
Normal guy.
All right. Next topic of the evening. With the current never open weight champion in WWE, do you see this as a foot in another forbidden door? Now, Marker, this was your question, so I'll let you take the reins on this one. No problem.
So prior to, you know, yesterday when we were talking about this, like what my question was going to be, I was like, I wasn't really thinking about it, but then, you know, I was like, you know, Carl Anderson, obviously the Good Brothers are on Raw right now, and Carl Anderson is the never open weight champion for New Japan still and currently. He worked a match on Raw. He's actually working Halloween Havoc on NXT as Cameron. The Good Brothers are going to be Cameron Grind's partner for a 6-man tag, and he's still the champion. So they didn't make him relinquish it, which you know, I'm assuming if Vince was in power, you know, get that damn belt off. It's not like he brought it on TV. But if you're a diehard wrestling fan, obviously not a casual, but if you're been a longtime wrestling fan, you know that he is a champion of another pretty much prominent company. Like, you know, New Japan's like the WWE for Japan, essentially. Like they're you know
huge.
They're huge. So I mean, it could be. I mean, so you know, Eric Bischoff did it back in the day in WCW. He had a great relationship with New Japan. They used to do crossover shows, and he'd have their guys go over there, and their guys would go over there. I'm not sure that's going to happen. I mean, WWF used to do it. This is before their WWE, but they had super shows where they would do, like, you know, we talked about this on RAWDOWN, where they'd have pretty much all the Japanese promotions and WWF. So you'd see like the likes of Hulk Hogan facing, you know, all these guys, and like, so you'd have everyone over there. So it's a possible. I mean, it could happen. I don't think they would do it to, you know, in spite of, you know, AEW. I think, for me personally, I think Tony Khan kind of wants to, you know, if there's a way to work with WWE, if they're not going to work with WWE directly, AEW, if New Japan could be kind of like that bridge, between the three, let it be. Like, it's not like, you know, WWE's going to take away New Japan, and, you know, Tony Khan's never going to do business with New Japan again. They have a great relationship with them. That's not going anywhere. So, like, you don't have to worry about that. They already pulled off a pay-per-view with New Japan. So, like, you don't have to worry about, like, you know, WWE, like, you know, cutting everyone out. And people gotta forget that, like, Vince McMahon's not in power anymore. You have a new regime. You have people that want to make money. You have people that want to, like, you know, grow their business. So if it's a way to, you know, kind of bridge that gap, not saying there's going to be a full-on Forbidden Door pay-per-view with WWE and New Japan, but I can see some type of workarounds. I mean, if they're letting, we just talked about this before we went on, Carl Anderson is actually wrestling a New Japan show and
Crown
Crown
Jewel.
Jewel the same day.
Yeah.
So like that, if that doesn't tell you like there's a working relationship there, not a working relationship between the companies, but like some type of like, bridge there. I don't know what to tell you. And I mean, I could definitely see them working together, but obviously not like a full blown pay-per-view, but I could see, someone showing up at a Rumble.
Yeah.
Maybe you get an Okada shows up at the Rumble or something like that. Or, I mean, and you have that connection with, Toma Tonga. Like they're all kind of not blood related, but they're all in that lineage of the bloodline. And a few years back, Roman Reigns and actually Toma Tonga went back and forth on Twitter a little bit. Like, so there's connections there that can be, brought in. So I don't know. I mean, I think it could happen. I'm not 100% sure it will happen. I'm about maybe 10 to 15% that something could happen with WWE New Japan. But I mean, from the looks of it, I mean, it seems like it's in the right direction. If that's the case of one of their guys actually doing 2 shows in the same day. So
what do you think, Sneed?
I think that there is a very good possibility that it could happen. I think this Forbidden Door is going to just look a little different, though. I think as far as in terms of WWE doing a Forbidden Door, I think the acknowledgement because when the Good Brothers debuted, New Japan they were tweeting about it.
Yeah, they retweeted.
Yeah. Jay White acknowledged it.
Yeah.
Called himself the Catalyst.
Yeah. Which
he might be.
Yeah. And I think that there is a possibility that we could see. I don't see it happening soon.
Yeah.
But I think it's a big step that now WWE is at least acknowledging that there's a wrestling world outside of that universe. Yeah. So you say about 10 to 15. What I was at was about 30%.
Oh, really? Okay.
Wow.
I'm about 30%.
Wow.
So
okay.
I think we're seeing the extent of Triple H's reign, the change of him being in charge, the fact that they're mentioning other companies in the commentary on Raw and SmackDown. I think this is an extension of that. This is something that we would have never seen with Vince. Like,
yeah,
this never would have happened. I do think them showing up, Carl Anderson commented on Twitter today about, I'm still the never open weight champion for New Japan. He tagged New Japan. New Japan's retweeting, like you said, Sneed. But I think that's about as far as it goes. I think that's a big step for WWE.
Yeah.
Just to have another league's or another promotion's champion on their show. That's the benefit of Triple H's more open mind of wrestling. Now, down the road, could we see them doing a little bit more stuff like this? Possibly. I mean, you got to think Triple H was kind of heading up the Mae Young Classic, the Cruiserweight Classic they did that was pulling from everywhere. You had Zack Sabre Jr. in there. You had all of these big dudes. So Triple H is not, I think, against stuff like that. But as far as like co-promoting, bringing in New Japan stars into the league, into WWE for like one-offs, I do think that Triple H learned from Vince McMahon. And I think a lot of those philosophies he does take to heart, as far as like, say, Okada coming out in the Rumble. Would I love it? And would hardcores pop for it? Yes. Yeah. But I worry if Triple H has a little bit of that Vince in him, where it's like, we've got 30 spots. Would the American casual fan really care if Okada came out here? That's an AEW move but I feel like that fan base is a little more diehard hardcore wrestling fan, where WWE, it would pop. I don't know if it's broad enough, it's mainstream enough for Triple H to be like, give one of these spots to Tama Tonga. I just don't see that happening. But I do think it's a major step. But I will say the fact that Carl Anderson is wrestling New Japan. He's wrestling Hikuleo for the never openweight champion the same day that he's in the 6-man tag at Crown Jewel. That is a red flag to me that this is as far as it goes. Because to me, he's going to drop that title.
Yeah.
He's going to drop that title there. But that still shows a big thing for Triple H to be like, hey, we'll bring you in. You know, the Good Brothers aren't under contract to New Japan. They've been working free agent for a while and kind of popping up in Impact and with New Japan. So they can go wherever they want. And I do think that Carl Anderson and Doc Gallows have done a lot for New Japan. And they saw the way they got absolutely shafted when Cody, the Bucks, and all of those dudes left. And there was a lot of bad blood there because New Japan felt like everyone just dipped out on them. AJ Styles left around the same time, and they were left with, the dick in their hand with all their stars gone. And I think this was a way for Carl Anderson to be like, is there a way we can do this where we don't fuck New Japan? We're going to go to WWE, but we don't want to hurt you. And maybe in the process of us going to WWE, you guys reshare our stuff. I'll tag you in my tweets. We'll both get a little bit of shine off of this. I'll drop the title, and then we go our separate ways. That's what I think's happening.
What if he keeps the title? What if he retains?
If he retains, we're in a whole different world.
I didn't even think about that. I didn't even think of if he retains because it just seems to me he's definitely losing. But man,
because we don't know. Like you said with Triple H. He's a little bit different in the sense where, he, like you said, he had all those, the Cruiserweight Classic and he invited all those guys in. We seen Kota Ibushi. Yeah. In that he was pretty close to winning too. And, in the idea for the new NXT Europe thing that they have going on. Yeah. Where, I was reading where he wants to do something kind of like a World Cup type of tournament where, there's promotions from all over Europe that compete in this. Not under, obviously, they're not going to sign to WWE, but kind of like what you did with the Cruiserweight Classic, just have the best of the best compete in this tournament. Who's to say this isn't a way for him to get New Japan on board with that? Like he's going to definitely need some of their guys to compete in this this future thing that he wants to happen.
My only pushback on that, I've heard that brought up before.
Yeah.
He tried to do an NXT in Japan. They tried to kind of get their footing in there, and New Japan was like, he tried to do an NXT in Japan.
Yeah.
Around the time they did NXT UK, and he had a lot of trouble getting in there because New Japan's entrenched in. I mean, that is like them and All Japan. I mean, you've got Noah, you've got Stardom, but as far as New Japan is the WWE of that region of the world. And I feel I think they're it was the same way with Pride and UFC when Pride was the big company in MMA in Japan and UFC was the American promotion. It was so hard to break into Japan because those guys are very much here comes an outsider and they're going to give us all these promises. And what's going to happen? They're going to come in and take over. And then where are we going to be? I think there's a lot of that hesitation to bring in this Goliath called WWE. Hey, we're going to do an NXT Japan. You guys help us out. And I think the New Japan guys are probably they're going to swallow up all our talent.
Yeah.
and then where are we going to be?
Yep, exactly. Yeah. So I could definitely see that, but I would definitely more of a working relationship as opposed to, kind of like how Tony Khan does. He'll have them guys do a match or something like that. And they
that would be great.
That have they do shows in Japan. I think they do once a year, maybe. So maybe that's another thing they could do. Maybe that show in Japan, they can invite, whoever and have a dream match.
Brought up Marco that I really like the idea concept that you said when your original point on here was, what if New Japan is kind of a bridge between AEW and WWE?
Yeah.
Because
I know Tony Khan gets mad. You watch that scrum and all that stuff, and he was like, "I'm not letting people, do this to me, blah, blah, blah." But deep down,
dude, he said
MJF said it. He's a mark, dude.
Yeah,
he wants to work.
Dude, and in the beginning, here's the thing that I think you're onto something here, because in the beginning, when they very first started in 2019, he gave tons of interviews where he's like, I want to work with everyone.
Yeah.
I would love to co-promote something with WWE. I'm open to that. And Cody Rhodes would echo that. He was like, I would love to do work with Vince and WWE. Now Vince is gone. Cody is another guy who's kind of could play a bridge between these companies. He's over there. They're both kind of working with New Japan. That could be something.
Yeah.
And just completely off topic, but back to what we were saying. Another reason I don't think New Japan will totally go all in with WWE, they're not going to pick Carl Anderson over John Moxley.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Like if we're getting the rights to one guy, they want to work with John Moxley over Carl Anderson.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah. The other thing, the other person you're forgetting too is a great bridge for WWE and AEW is Chris Jericho.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, he's I'm assuming at some point he has to go into the WWE Hall of Fame. I mean,
it would be a crime if he didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, they did that, when they did that John Cena, was it John Cena? That like appreciation night where they had Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson, Chris Jericho show up on Raw and like say like nice. I think was it John Cena?
I think it was.
It was some appreciation night. I forget whoever's night it was.
Yeah,
I think
it was Randy Orton or whoever it was. Anyway, they showed up on WWE.
Broken Skull Sessions. He was on the net.
Yeah, and that's another thing. That's what I mean. Like he's at bridge. For WWE and AEW. So like I said, New Japan, a
3-year extension, so he's with AEW for another 3 years.
Yep. So like like I said, I think at some point he wants to do something with WWE. I wouldn't see why he wouldn't. I don't think he did have a bad follow with Vince McMahon. He kind of spoke about towards the end of that when he wanted to do like the New Japan shows and all that stuff, and he got replaced by Rusev at the time.
Yeah.
That casket match, which with the Undertaker and stuff like that. So I mean, I think that was just Vince McMahon being petty in the sense where but I don't think Triple H or you gotta think Stephanie's technically the end all be all when it comes to that. She's the she's the one that's gonna make the decisions.
Dude,
she loves Chris Jericho.
I love I love the concept of WWE working with New Japan and AEW working with New Japan, but let's be honest. The biggest story in pro wrestling would be AEW and WWE putting on a super show similar to Forbidden Door and letting us get a match like Kenny Omega versus Seth Rollins. Yeah. Or, I mean, the wrestling world would melt down. You would have people taking sides, but I think a show like that would also bring a lot of fans together.
Oh yeah, definitely. No, definitely. Yeah. And you have there's so many dream matches you could do between the two. I mean,
I know everyone says Omega and Reigns, but I want Omega and Rollins, and I want Mox and Reigns.
Yeah, and then you have obviously you have the Usos and the Bucks because that's what everyone wants to see. Who the brothers do battle and stuff like that. So
be great.
I mean, you definitely have. I mean, there is something there. I mean, will we get it or not? Who knows? We'll see.
You never know. I'm the fact that we're even considering that it's a shred of a possibility in the future tells you a lot about where wrestling is now.
Yeah, definitely.
With Triple H and Tony, I feel like it's more apt to happen with those two guys than with Vince.
Oh yeah. No, Vince was definitely obviously I don't know him personally, but just you can tell he's kind of set in his ways when it comes to the way he does business. And we're just right now we're just trying to grasp this new regime and the new way of doing business now is pretty insane. Even you can tell the differences just by watching Raw and SmackDown, just how they're produced now. They're completely different. Like last night on Raw, you wouldn't even know it that Triple H wasn't even on the show.
I know
it was Road Dogg that ran that show.
Good
that
for
show was freaking
Dogg.
Amazing. That the beginning of that with Lashley and Brock Lesnar going at it, and that it was good. Ali got some shine. So it looks like he's going to be feuding with Seth Rollins, which I've been waiting for that for forever because they're he's amazing. Like he would have if he didn't re-sign with WWE, he was definitely AEW bound, and I would have been definitely happy to see him over there as well because he's a
star,
talent, dude.
He's a star in the making. And the thing I love about Raw right now and SmackDown too, but you can tell Attitude Era guys are in charge.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
You can tell a lot of the storylines, the way they're booking things. You can just tell okay, these guys, these are those soldiers from the Attitude Era.
Yeah, they even brought JBL back with the old school Attitude Era.
Yeah,
suit and everything with his They went super old school on us.
Yeah, he brought his suit out from 1999.
I don't know if you guys remember the Vince McMahon Bone Cruncher figure where he had the suit on.
Oh,
the gray pinstripe suit. That's what it looked like.
Oh yeah, 3 sizes
Terrible.
too big.
Yeah. The wind gusted and took him away.
It took flight.
Yeah.
Oh man.
All right. Are we ready to move to our final topic?
Let's do it.
All right. Final topic of the evening. Long term, can Bray Wyatt be Triple H's Undertaker?
Sneed, kick it off.
I'm scared. I'm scared to talk about this.
Yeah. So this is tough. I would say right now, I would say that I think he can be, just because the way that he was brought back, the promo that he gave, I'm very, and I use this term a lot, cautiously optimistic that this time they're doing it right. If it was any of the stuff before, I would have said no. I don't think the Fiend could have done it. I don't think that the Wyatt family could have done it. But I think now, if they are going the way that they're going, that I think they're going with it, and really playing into the supernatural and the different personalities, I think that it can be, because I think that right now it's a very menacing and scary character. I get a very old school Undertaker vibe from it right now. So I do think that if they play it right, if he does it correctly, then yes, I think he can be Triple H's Undertaker.
Do you want to go? Or
I'll go. Could he be? I guess anything's possible. Like, I do think he's the only guy Triple H has that. I mean, I guess you could say Karrion Kross is kind of that spooky. He's got a little bit of that, but not enough. When I think spooky character in WWE, I think Bray, and I would even say maybe Malachi Black when they had him, or Aleister Black, I should say.
Yep.
I think Bray has the theatrics. He has the cinematic, spooky quality to him that of an Undertaker. But I think long term, no. I don't think any spooky gimmick lasts long term outside of something being played by Mark Calloway. I think if The Undertaker would have been given to any other person, it would have died a fucking horrible death. The only reason that gimmick worked was because Mark Calloway really got behind that. Think about that gimmick. Like, yeah, during that time, it kind of fit the gimmicks of that day. But the whole reason that gimmick had staying power was because of the man behind it. And this isn't me shitting on Bray Wyatt or Wyndham Rotunda. I think Wyndham Rotunda is a genius, like creatively. But to hear Triple H talk about him, how he needs to be reined in, and he's all over the place, and he's like a tornado, and you have to harness that tornado. I think Triple H will do a good job for a while. I know Triple H isn't Vince, but it's hard for me to trust anyone with the follow through on Bray Wyatt, because they've never, I know it was Vince, but they've never followed through on him. It's like everything has always been great and awesome. I mean, the cult figure, the Fiend in the beginning was awesome, like with the Firefly Funhouse and all of that. But I feel like it always, at the end of the day, it becomes a guy in a mask in a ring. And if you're not Mark Calloway, that shit's corny, man. You're fucking projecting worms onto a wrestling ring, and people are like, what is this shit? The only guy who's ever got away with a spooky gimmick long term is Mark Calloway, and I don't think there's anyone who can be the next Undertaker.
Dang. I don't know how you follow up with that. But for me, like you said, can he be? Yes. Do I want him to be? No. I want him to be Triple H's Bray Wyatt. I don't want him to be Triple H's Undertaker. I want him to be able to give us what we want, kind of like Batista says.
Yeah.
He said the same thing to Triple H. Give us what we want, but I want him to give us the Bray Wyatt that we deserved, the one that we had in the beginning, the the creepy Bray Wyatt with the Wyatt family, coming out, preaching his sermons and all that stuff. The Firefly Funhouse, I talked about this on RAWDOWN. I think I talked this on Chick Foley Show. That could have worked. The Firefly Funhouse Bray, and then the Fiend Bray. Like the Fiend could have been that once a show character. Like not every week. You don't have the Fiend come out every week. You have him come out on WrestleMania or SummerSlam or all the the marquee events, and then you get the regular Bray Wyatt for the rest of the year. They could have done that, but dollar signs happen. And I think what happened to Bray in that moment was Vince McMahon got a hold of that Fiend character and said, we can make money off of this. We can merch City, dolls and shirts and all this stuff. And that's not what I think Bray Wyatt wanted to do with that Fiend character. I think he initially wanted it to be that Undertaker type of character where he was a phenom that would show up at a WrestleMania fight, and then he disappears for the rest of the year. You don't see the Fiend at all. Maybe on a clip, maybe he shows up and he shows up on a screen or something like that. Other than that, you don't see the Fiend till whatever that main show was. And I think that's what was supposed to happen. But I think that also soured us as well, seeing the Fiend every week, where we wanted to see Bray Wyatt every week. And I think now that Bray Wyatt's back, I think hopefully Triple H does that and gives us Bray Wyatt every week as opposed to that character, because it looks like he's doing another character with that it's kind of like
Uncle Howdy mask.
Yeah.
I kind of say it as like a QAnon type of thing, where he's just like conspiracy type of guy, which is cool. You wouldn't want to see him wrestling in that mask. That's gonna completely destroy everything with this run. So hopefully this run, they kind of not erase everything, but give us that Bray Wyatt that we wanted to see every week, but not in a gimmick. Right. Like you said, no one can do the spooky gimmick forever. Like Undertaker. That was a once in a lifetime, one shot, one deal. Like he made it work. He changed it. He was able to, evolve the character into, American Badass Undertaker and, bring it back to kind of like that spooky thing later on and stuff like that. We didn't get that chance with Bray Wyatt. So it's kind of like we're starting over.
Yeah.
Again. Like we didn't get the chance to have Bray Wyatt do this creepy backwoods guy, and then go into this Firefly Funhouse character, and then ease into this new character that he has. We got those two characters, the Fiend, and then it was kind of pulled from under us. So it kind of soured us on any chance of any type of Undertaker character happening. And if it wasn't to happen, he would have been that guy. I think he would have been if they kept the Firefly Funhouse the way it was in its first inception, before, like I said, Vince McMahon and the creators got a hold of it and wanted to do wacky zany stuff with them and all that stuff. When he was doing that, talking about the Illuminati and the lizard people, and all that stuff, that when I brought that up to on RAWDOWN, they didn't even remember that.
I totally
remember it vividly. Hulk Hogan was via satellite, and Bray Wyatt was via satellite in the Firefly Funhouse, and he was talking about lizard people and the Illuminati, and they showed pentagrams and worms crawling inside of skulls and all that stuff. As soon as the Fiend showed up, that was it. The Fiend took over as the main character. That's when the merch started rolling out. That's when all this stuff, and that's when the Firefly Funhouse didn't show any of that stuff. He didn't talk about the lizard people. He didn't talk about the Illuminati.
Or get more into the puppets and that shit.
Yeah, they got into more of the puppets, and it was playful and all that stuff. So because they were trying to sell the puppets and try to sell those characters. So I think that right there soured anything. So if they didn't do that, if the Fiend didn't have that, that impact that he did in Hell in a Cell, like which we would like to forget with him and Seth Rollins.
Yeah.
If that match never happened, if they kept it up to that point, I think he could have technically been the Undertaker in that sense, and keeping that gimmick going, because he has the ability. He showed us to change his character.
Yeah,
like it took him how long did it take him? A year or so to make this to create this new thing with, like, we don't know what it is yet either. Like,
yeah, he was gone a year. Over a year. I think it was July of 2021 when he got fired.
And we're still guessing of what the hell he's doing. Like, he came out like, this is a real Bray Wyatt, and this is really me. And then you get this creepy guy on the screen again. Like, we don't know what's going on. So he does have the ability to, to change characters and keep that longevity. But I think, like I said, that the Fiend kind of soured it, and not the Fiend character itself. The powers that be,
for me, for sure.
The follow through of the Fiend.
Yeah, he definitely should have been that. You can ask anybody. Like, he should have been that main, that attraction that you see the Fiend once a year, in that whatever show that is. Maybe not WrestleMania, because that's kind of Undertaker. Like, maybe it's SummerSlam where he first debuted. Maybe SummerSlam is his, or what should have been the only time you seen the Fiend was. You're going to see the Fiend at SummerSlam, and that's it. Not on TV, not on Raw, not on SmackDown. That's it. The rest of the time, you're going to get Bray Wyatt fighting in his khakis and his red sweater. Or whatever.
One thing I think about, though, like with Bray, I know I just said he can't be Undertaker.
Yeah.
But the beautiful thing about Bray is, like, when you're a fan, especially if you're a kid right now growing up with this Bray, if you've been a fan from a young age, he always, like, we're going to remember the big moments, or those fans will look back and they'll remember the Fiend and be like, oh, the Fiend was so cool. You're not going to remember the shitty Hell in a Cell match. You're going to remember those big moments. And I think the allure of shit like that, the big moment of it all, will have us wearing rose-colored glasses to the Fiend more than the fans that are nitpicking every little piece of how they handled it. But the cool thing about it is now the Fiend is in his toolbox.
Yeah.
Can you imagine 2-3 years from now, we're in this storyline with Bray and the Fiend returns? Huge pop.
See, and that's a big,
fans will lose their shit.
That's a big reason that I think that there's a good possibility that he can be looked at as an Undertaker type character. I mean, nobody's ever going to be the Undertaker. That's just that'll never happen. But with all of these characters that he had, and now he's back, I think this is kind of a way to right that ship of all the shitty shit that we had from before. And that now he can tuck that away and pull those parts from it when it's necessary. And I think Triple H can see that. And I think that, like you said, a couple of years from now, when you do see the Fiend pulled out, that I think, and one thing that makes me believe that, and it was Chris Jericho's tweet. I don't know if you guys saw where somebody asked about it, and he said, "I don't believe a word of it."
Oh yeah, the sincerity. It was like someone retweeted that his promo where he's just, this is me talking. He's talking about like what happened to him this, the past year and all that stuff, and that's like you said, perfect. Chris Jericho nailed it on the head. I don't believe one word.
That's exactly what I thought, man. I saw that and I'm like, this guy is putting on a fucking Oscar worthy. He has fans on hook, line, and sinker, just like eating out of the palm of his hand, thinking like, oh, this is the real him. No,
and it was
that's another character he's introducing.
And I love
that you never got to see.
He threw in the line. He said, "I met people and you were special, and you know who you are." Like he made it like I mean, he met thousands of people in that year off.
Yeah, exactly.
People shared a 40-second moment where they're like, "Yep, that's me."
That's the story, though. That is the story and that's why I'm so intrigued with this story right now. Is we're seeing the real man, Bray Wyatt, coming to the fans. He has all these demons in his past: the Fiend, the cult leader, all of these guys. The Firefly Funhouse is, it's got cobwebs in it now. That's behind him, and now there's this new entity lurking on the big screen. The whatever they're going to call him. I think they're calling it the Uncle Howdy Mask. is the mask they have.
Yeah,
I heard they were going to call it Uncle Harper, but
Uncle Harper.
yeah.
something like that. Yeah,
But
and,
that's
we
cool.
we talked about that on RAWDOWN because we kind of wanted a faction with him, his father, and Bo Dallas.
Yeah.
So the Uncle Hart, because I think they trademarked a few names.
Yeah.
Some like wacky names or whatever. But that is another rumor that his brother is going to be, returning to WWE.
Do it. Bring Bo back. I love
and have Bo as one of his disciples, or maybe Bo's that character on screen. Maybe
you never know, man.
He's kind of same build as Bray. The other thing they could get, and the other thing too, they were supposed to do with the Fiend was like have the Fiend and Bray Wyatt like in the same room together.
Yeah,
and they were going to do that by having Bo play the Fiend, like having with the mask and everything and the braids. And maybe at some point, Bray was going to face the Fiend, like he's going to face his demon or something like that. So, like you said, can he be the Undertaker? No, but he has a lot of things to pull from. Like you said, he can bring back Firefly Funhouse Bray.
And I feel like the only way to make this Uncle Harper, Uncle Howdy, whatever character truly work, you can't go the same route as the Fiend, where we never saw Red Sweater Bray and the Fiend in the same place at the same time.
Yep.
You can't. I feel like that we've tread those waters before with Bray. I feel like with this, play up, make us think it's just Bray, another side of Bray. But if Bo Dallas was behind that mask and you actually got to see a match between these two, how cool would that be? And then you're also pulling in. That's what I love about this is he is tying in everything he's ever done into this story.
And that's SummerSlam Undertaker versus Undertaker-esque.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's a possibility too. Yeah, you could do a Fiend versus Fiend. Or the other thing too is kind of where that people are forgetting is when he debuted on Extreme Rules, he was that character.
Yeah,
he had that mask on. He pulled that off, and that was him. But then now he comes out on SmackDown, completely like ignoring the fact that he came out in that mask. So
and that would be a great swerve, though.
crazy. Yeah, it's
like he debuts, he takes that mask off, then he's up on the screen. You're thinking, oh, it's just another personality. But what if he's in the ring cutting a promo and that guy comes out?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, then you're like, fuck, what's going on here?
Yeah,
we just seen him take the mask on. Mask off, and it's his face. How is he?
Yeah.
We'll see. I mean, they've done it before. I mean, with less technology, with the 3 faces of Foley, they had all 3 of them appear in a video before. So who knows? They had Elias recently and Ezekiel show up together, and they could. I mean, they have the power now to in the technology to do it. They could have them all show up together. You never know. Maybe that's a faction.
I kind of like your what you originally said, Marco. It's like I don't want him to be Undertaker. I want him to be Bray.
Yeah, the Bray Wyatt.
That's the best way to look at it. Like he's not going to be Taker. He's not going to be Triple H's Taker. Hopefully they have a great follow through with this story. It becomes one of the best stories we've ever seen. And we finally get the Bray we've always wanted.
Yeah, that's it. That's a fairy tale ending for that, I would say.
Man, Ezekiel and Elias really looked a lot alike.
I mean, they are brothers. I mean,
that's
you
true.
see the family when he was in the hospital, his whole family was there. And,
I
mean,
it was like the Nutty Professor, man.
Good genes in that family.
Yeah.
Oh man, well, this was a lot of fun, Marco. I know you have a lot of places you can plug. Tell everybody where they can find you.
Everywhere. No, you definitely find me obviously every Thursday night on here on the Turnbuckle Tavern feed, doing RAWDOWN with young Anthony and JBONE. Obviously find me at Chick Foley feed on either Chick Foley Show or on Open Mic, one of those two. And as Sheena always says, I run the Twitter machine over on Chick Foley Show, so on Twitter. So yeah, definitely come over there and hang out a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I'm just spread thin everywhere. And obviously, Pod Foundation. We talked about this at the beginning.
Yep.
Definitely check us out. I mean, there's enough content now, I think, that can last you a lifetime.
I mean,
you literally get every gamut of of life. I would say, like you guys at the Broken VCR, stuff like that. That's an awesome show. You have, I mean, just all those like odd shows, like Extra Cooler where they do like the nostalgia
Yeah.
type stuff. Like,
Yeah.
and then you have Shot of Nostalgia as well. So
Yeah.
that focus on the WCW stuff.
And Seth and Jordan joining J-Bone and Hawk on the long balls, NFL. So.
So we have NFL. There's literally, you can find us everywhere. I mean, I'm not sure if I'll hop on long balls because probably my football knowledge isn't that vast. I would just probably go on there just to like making fun of people and just say there's that whatever team they like their season's over already, that type of shit.
Well, they put together a whole spiel about the Colts and how bad they suck.
The Colts do suck. I mean, they suck forever. No, I'm joking. But, no, that's pretty much it. Yeah, like I said, find me literally everywhere, everywhere and all wheres at once, essentially.
Well, awesome, man. It's been great having you. We'll definitely be having you back soon. It was good talking to you.
Good talking to you too.
All right. That is going to wrap us up for this edition of the Turnbuckle Debate. We've been stapleless for a couple of weeks, so
next week I think he'll return.
We'll have him back so he can get his shit in. But I'll plug a couple of things. Really just theturnbuckletavern.com. You can find everything you need there. Court is dismissed.